I am an introvert, and it did not occur to me that that would actually be something of import to take into consideration when going to the expo.
Anywhere you go, you belong.
Hello, my lovelies, and welcome to Dubai. Not really, obviously, I'm in Paris. So to give you a little backstory, I'm obsessed with the Eiffel Tower. Now you may wonder, what does the Eiffel Tower have to do with Dubai? And I will tell you. The Eiffel Tower, as you may or may not know, was constructed in 1889 to mark the entrance of the EXPO2020, which in English and in the 21st century is called the World Expo. So I've always been kind of fascinated about this World Expo thing. I heard that the World Expo was going to be in Dubai in 2020. Now, as an American, Dubai has a very exotic sound. And I've always been fascinated with the Middle East, and it's always seemed very far away. But living in Europe, it's much closer. And I also have many friends from France who have roots in the Middle East and in Northern Africa. And so that part of the world has become less intimidating, less far away, less remote, but still exotic. And so I thought, why don't I kill two birds with one stone? Why don't I go to Dubai for the World Expo in 2020 and discover Dubai and discover what this whole World Expo is about. However, as you know, COVID happened. And so the Expo 2020 actually opened in October of 2021 and runs through the end of March of 2022. And I was able to go a few weeks ago. And I don't really know what I expected. I had done no research about what the World Expo is, other than knowing vaguely that there would be a pavilion for every country and that the Eiffel Tower had been built because of the World Expo. My overall impression of the Expo is Disneyland meets Las Vegas. So if you love Disneyland and or you love Las Vegas, you will love the Expo. If, however, you are like me and you actually detest Disneyland and detest Las Vegas, it gets a wee bit complicated. At first, I was like, okay, I can dig this. It's like a lot of light shows. once you've seen one light show, you've kind of seen them all. It was a very audiovisual experience, a very digitized experience. And I don't know why I didn't expect that, but I really didn't. And I was really disappointed after a minute. It is a very superficial, glossed over, positive only representation of each country. So it's kind of interesting if you're following the news at all and you're realizing that in a particular country there is civil unrest, or the parliament has shut down, or there's some big scandal, and then you go into that pavilion and there's just no mention, there's no mention of sectarian violence, there's no mention of racial issues, and I get it. Like, I get that everyone wants to put their best face forward, but I also feel like I'm kind of tired of whitewashing, and no pun intended. I would like to see more transparent representation of both the positive achievements in a country and the challenges in a country. And this expo in particular just hid all the challenges. But as a curious intellectual, I wanted more, and I didn't get it. If you're enjoying this vlog, please subscribe. That would be great for the channel. And be sure to click the like button and the notification button so that you know when the next one appears, which is usually Mondays, but never say never. I made a mistake. I tried to do too much in the first day. There are 192 pavilions. I visited in the course of 3.5 days, 55 of those pavilions. So not even half. Of those 50 or 55, I saw over half of them on the first day. Huge mistake. You need to schedule downtime. You need to schedule pauses, because if you're rushing all the time, it's extremely depleting. And by the end of the day, I was knocked out to the point where I was like near tears. I walked 40,000 steps or something ridiculous that day, but it made it so that I had a very low tolerance on the following days. The blessing in that was that I really chose to then seek out in the following days the places that were really calm, that didn't require standing in line. And that ended up being a lot of countries that I didn't know anything about. Some I had never actually heard of. Mostly the small countries in Southeast Asia, the island countries, and a couple of the countries in Africa that I was not so familiar with. Even a couple of countries in South America that I was less familiar with, Central America. And those countries had almost no visitors. And they were very small pavilions, usually just a couple of rooms. They didn't have an entire architecture constructed for their pavilion the way the bigger countries did. But they were really delightful. And the people that were manning those pavilions were really kind and friendly and weren't, trying to herd cattle. Here are my recommendations if you're an introvert and you're going to the expo. Number 1, decide what pavilions you want to go to and figure out where they're located so that you can clump them all together so you're not traversing the entire space to get from one pavilion to the next and then back to the first location and then back to the second location. Number 2, plan downtime. Schedule pauses. Don't try to do everything. Dear God, don't try to do everything. Plan mealtime and plan just people watching time. There's also a central area that's outside that has this beautiful roof on it, and there are a bunch of light shows happening on it. Sit there and just watch the shows happening. At about 6 o'clock in the evening, also around midday and sometimes in the afternoon, there'll be a concert or a show or something. happened to come across an orchestra performance, which was lovely. Those moments are really great. There are also a few water features throughout the park, and I will get back to the principal water feature at the end of this video, so stay tuned for that. Between the smaller pavilions, the pavilions for the African countries and the Southeast Asian island countries, there are little squares, sometimes with a water feature, sometimes just with benches and palm trees. And so they're not on the main thoroughfares. They're shaded during the day, and they're much calmer than the main thoroughfares, and there are always benches available, and you can just go, you can take your lunch there, sit, people watch because there are people that come by, or just take a breath, and it's worth it. I recommend bringing some fruit. When you go through the entry to the expo, they will check your bag, but I didn't have anybody ever stop me for having an orange or an apple in my bag. So I highly recommend just bringing some snacky food like an orange and apple, maybe some almonds, something like that, because you may not be in a place that you have easy access to the kind of food you're wanting to eat when you're hungry. So rather than having to traipse across the entire expo to find the kind of food that you're really wanting, because they do have everything, but it's always good to have something in your back pocket. I really ended up appreciating the few moments that were more interactive. I will say my favorite part of the expo was the architecture. It was kind of remarkable. You don't actually have to go into the pavilions to get a really cool experience of the expo. There were 3 places that I highly recommend. The first place is the Arabian Tea House. Get a seat on the terrace. You can actually see the light show if you stay long enough, and it's great because you're kind of separated from the crowds, you have yummy food and delicious tea, and you get the light show at the same time. The second place is in the Greek Pavilion, and it's up at the top of the pavilion, and it's a Greek restaurant with a nice terrace. Doesn't have a particular spectacular view, but it's quiet, it's above the fray, and the Greek salad is delicious. It's just fresh, and the feta's beautiful, and the tomatoes are beautiful, and it's light, and it's a perfect midday meal. The third is Mamesh. It's this little stall right outside the Palestinian pavilion, and it has the best falafel I have ever tasted. And I've lived in Greece and in Turkey, and there's great Middle Eastern food in France, and there was great Middle Eastern food in California. So when I say these are the best falafel I've ever had, I'm telling you, they're delicious. They're so good. So go to the Palestinian Pavilion. You'll see this little stand and it's worth any line you have to stand in to get the falafel. And it's a takeaway. So you just you find a little bench somewhere and you just sit and you enjoy your meal. I hope you enjoyed this little trip into Expo 2020. Please let me know in the comments if you end up going or if you've been and what your opinions were of your experience. And I hope to see you the next video. Thank you so much for watching, especially till the end. And have a lovely week. Gros bisous. À plus.
Anywhere you go, give it all. Anywhere you say,